Hey there folks, I'm here in Death Valley and I just finished reviewing actually the new Nikon 20mm f1.8. And I'll keep it short and sweet. I love this lens. It's my new favorite astro-landscape photography and landscape photography in general lens. It's got everything going for it. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was a moonburst that you saw. You've heard of starbursts and sunbursts, but I just did a moonburst. We'll look at some of the other sample images in a little bit, but I wanted to get right down to the point of one of my favorite things about this new lens. It's sharp, it's got nice bokeh, but the coolest thing is, in my opinion, it's got great sunbursts, and this is something that I have been a little upset about with regards to Nikon's wide-angle lenses recently, because, yeah, they're awesome, they're sharp. The 14-24 is one of the greatest lenses for astro-landscapes, but check this out here. I was really happy about the starburst effects that the 20mm 1.8 was pulling off, because this is something actually I mentioned in my previous review of the Nikon 35mm 1.8G compared to the much older 35mm f2.0D. The starbursts are just not the same on these newer lenses because of the nice rounded apertures. The older lenses have much sharper, more prickly, cool-looking starbursts. Well, I'm happy to say that this 21.8 is giving very sharp, pointy, and almost twinkling starbursts. You can see some of the beams of the starbursts are longer than the other beams. It's just really cool, and something that I'm really happy to see from Nikon. So bravo for that. And kudos for making a pretty awesome lens overall. Let's go out of slideshow here and go into Lightroom and check out some of these other images. Really quick, let's get this out of the way. This lens is sharp. Let me zoom in here. This is at f11, so you should see basically just flawless sharpness everywhere. It's just a teeny tiny fuzzy in the corners because I focused at infinity and this is only a few feet away from the lens. But as you can see, this thing is pretty darn sharp all across the board. And wide open at 1.8, let's zoom in on this image here. Wide open at 1.8, the bokeh is nice and soft, and the sharpness itself is still very good wide open at 1.8. I have a set of test images here from 1.8 all the way to f16. And let's pull up the develop module so that we can look at this. There's a few things that I'm not so excited about by this lens. The sharpness is awesome. If you look at if you zoom in at f1.8 and you compare it to, say, f5.6 or f8 or f whatever, it's almost identical in the dead center. You've got maybe a little bit of sharpening through f2.0, f2.8 or so, but all in all, the entire image wide open is amazingly sharp for basically past the rule of thirds here. Let's go all the way. F2 and f2.0 and f1.8 are practically the same. What I wanted to point out though was, yeah, you see you've got some pretty good sharpness right up to the corners. What I wanted to point out though was the general vignetting. The corners do not go, nearly black like some of the ultra wide, ultra fast lenses do. I'm quite thankful for that, but this lens has so much light fall off that if at 1.8, if I enable the profile correction for vignetting and distortion, you can see just how much brighter this thing gets, almost a stop or two brighter just by turning on the profile for correction. So really, most of the areas of this lens, except the dead center, are an f2 point something or even an f2.8 or worse lens as far as brightness is concerned. So while you don't have horrible near black corners, you do have a lot of light fall off in general. And even at f11 or f16, turning off the vignetting, There's no terrible black corners, but there's just a bit of darkening overall that's going on all across the board here. So that's a little bit of a bummer. It's not as bright of a lens as it claims to be, but I did compare it against some 2.8 lenses, and it is brighter than 2.8 if you use the same exposure. You know, let's go to some night photos here before we look at some of the wedding photojournalism that I also did. The two main things that I'm going to definitely use this lens for are astro-landscape photography and wedding photojournalism. Let's look at this scene here. This is at 1.8. You can see 1.8 and 2.0 are practically the same. And the corners do get pretty dark, but that's because I've got the night sky here, and so light is much more of a sponge. If I hit the profile correction here, you can see just how much brighter those corners get. And I think they're almost overcorrecting. If I were processing this image, I would actually reintroduce some vignetting to this photo. So that's something worth mentioning if you do a lot of astro-landscape photography. What I wanted to really show you was just the pinpoint sharpness that I get wide open at f2.0. It is sharp all over the frame here, right up to the very corners. I will say that in very, very dark conditions where, again, let's hide this, you can see that there's a little bit of coma, and it's rather faint in most conditions. This is at f2.0, and it's a very dark corner. But by f2.4 and f2.8, the coma is practically gone. And remember, these are pitch black or very, very dark conditions. I have another image here of a suburban nightscape, and this is at 2.8. And you see if I zoom in here in the corners here, the coma is basically non-existent. You can't even see it. But that's partly because the ambient light is just so bright that I'm at 8 seconds in f8 instead of 30 seconds and whatever I was here. What was this f2 point? I'm at 32. I'm at ISO 3200 in 8 seconds versus this exposure here. So I just wanted to point that out. In most normal ambient light shooting conditions, you're going to have pretty great corner sharpness overall. Here's another awesome sunstar. But okay, I will admit, sunstars and coma are something that few people are going to worry about. Unless you're into astro-landscape photography, you're not going to worry about it that much. Let's talk about some of the more important stuff, such as general flare. In normal daylight conditions, we've got a Indian wedding ceremony here. Normal daylight conditions, what about the flare? Well, it's at f16, flare is very teeny tiny dots. There's only a couple of them. There's maybe one big thing going on here. If I go indoors and get some very hazy conditions, don't mind that. That's just a spot of dust on my lens. This was a very dusty day. There's one weird thing that happens. Only once or twice I saw this. It's a bit of this weird kind of hazy flare. If I go all the way to the end here, I think I can pull it up again. Yeah, you see this weird little line type flare going on there. And that's something that might bum you out a little bit. But me personally, I'm just impressed that there's almost no flare dots elsewhere in this image. And also, again, look at how cool that sunstar is. This one's a little beam. This one's a long beam. It's all different lengths on the beams, the star beams, sunbeams there. So, okay, I'll shut up about that now. Let's go check out some more of the general candid photography type stuff that I might do with this lens. Portraiture, it's just awesome in general as a portrait lens. Even if you don't need 2.0 or f1.8 all the time, it's just a great way to get lightweight sharpness in a small package. You know, some of these, here's wide open at 1.8. I just like shooting these types of really dimly lit conditions. Here's a ISO 3200 wide open at 1.8. I'm barely hand holding this shot, and it's a kiss, a wedding ceremony. And this is the type of situation where this lens will truly shine. Natural vignetting doesn't matter that much. You're not really pushing the envelope except for needing that or enjoying that extra stop of brightness so that you can shoot more photojournalistically. Here's one last shot that I thought I'd show you guys that I was really happy about. Oh, it looks like the image is missing from my Lightroom catalog, so I'll have to post this image in sharper detail on my actual written article, so you can check that out now. Oh, by the way, what about macro? Yes, this lens does amazing macro. It's got nice sharpness. Don't mind the noise here. It's got some amazing sharpness going on, wet at close distances, beautiful soft bokeh here, which you wouldn't think about accomplishing on a 20mm lens. You wouldn't think about doing macro, and you wouldn't think about doing bokeh. But because the lens can focus so close, it does a pretty awesome job of doing wide angle sort of close-up detail shots. So that's about it, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. Overall, I will highly recommend this lens if you're into not just photojournalism and weddings and portraits, but also landscape photography and astro-landscape photography. For me personally, that makes this lens such a keeper because it's 20mm instead of what most fast wide-angle lenses are, which is 24mm. The only reason you might consider a 24mm lens is if maybe, let's say for example, Sigma has a 24mm f1.4 art lens right around the corner. If you were really hankering for that 1.4 aperture, since this is kind of, an f2 lens, like I said, and if you don't mind the difference between 20mm and 24mm, then maybe you would hold out for a Sigma 24 1.4, because it'll probably cost about the same or just $100, $200, or $300 more than this lens. If it's really awesome, it would probably have flawlessly sharp corners compared to this lens. But that's, like I said, if you really need that extra aperture, and also, of course, if you shoot less landscapes and astro-landscapes and more just general portraiture and photojournalism. All in all, personally, I'm definitely going to be getting this lens and giving up hope on whatever Sigma 20-something millimeter art lens everybody has been getting excited about, hopefully happening soon. I'm just going to get this lens and call it a day. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. Oh wait, let's watch some bloopers.
Just waiting for the sun to come around the building and hit the lens so you guys can see the really pretty sun stars. Do-do-do-do-do. Oh, there was one more con that I was going to tell you about. Here comes the sun. You can enjoy the sun star. The one con is for astro-landscape photography, these Nikon AFS-G lenses are extremely difficult to focus precisely on the stars. And it's kind of a chore. You have to compared to the Rokinon lenses, you've got lots of, you can rotate you can focus the lens very easily because it's got so much focus turning, whatever it's called, I forget the word. What's it called, guys? Focus throw, that's it. Yeah, it has a lot of focus throw on the other Rokinon types of astro-landscape photography lenses that are really popular, the 24 1.4, the 14 2.8. So on these Nikons, especially this lens, nailing focus on the stars is a matter of millimeter precision on the focus ring, and it's kind of a bummer. But I mean, it's easy to do in live view. If you have a bright star, you flip on live view, you zoom all the way in on the star, and it's pretty good to do.
All right, that's enough nerd talk. I'm going to speed this up. Enjoy the sun star, folks. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next video.